So we're back here at the Ammertime.
Ammertime.
And
it sounds better when you say it, I think.
Ammertime?
Yeah.
No, it sounds better when you say it. But anyway, now we're just gonna talk about our initial thoughts of Ninth Age. So Jonas, why don't you start out?
Well, I think there's a lot of good changes, some very interesting changes. For instance, I would like to start to talk about the deployment phase. The deployment phase changed a lot since 8th edition.
Yeah.
First of all, now you only have one role in the deployment phase to see who picks its side. So that's a lot of difference from before, where you had two roles: first to see who picked side, and afterwards to see who put down the first unit.
Don't you roll 2 times now?
No,
You only roll one.
you roll one. So if you choose a side,
Okay, I
the
did
other
it
person gets to go first.
I did it wrong.
And
Never mind.
and in 8th edition, it was if you win the roll, you have to go first. Now you can pick who goes first. So there's some new dynamics in the deployment phase. And of course, there is a new rule that says for every unit your opponent didn't deploy, when you're done deploying your army, you will get +1 to roll off to see who starts the game.
Yeah, which is a good example of this. Is my army is really small.
Yeah.
And so I only have 3 units, and then my characters, which count as 1. So I only have to have 4 drops before I get to go first, pretty much automatically.
Yeah.
So if you have an army with 6 or 7 units, I can just put down 2 units, see where you're going to deploy your army, put my last 2 units down, and then I have a really good chance of going first, which is good for that kind of build.
Yeah. And there's another the dynamic Henry just talked about is that you can deploy any number of units when you deploy now, not just one. So you have the opportunity to deploy your entire army if you deploy first, and then your opponent will of course get a lot of you'll get a lot of plus to your roll to start the game.
Yeah.
So there's a new dynamic in which you can choose to start the game by deploying your entire army for your opponent, but then he can counter deploy you and.
Yeah, so if you deploy your army first, then they can choose where they want to attack you, which gives them an advantage, but then you get to go first. But my army was good because I only had 4 units, so even if the opponent wants to put their whole army down first, they only get +4.
Yeah.
So if I roll a 5 or a 6, and they roll a 1 or a 2, then I can still go first.
If they get +4, they need to roll 1 and 6.
Yeah, but it still gives me a chance.
Yeah.
Which is nice. And
so how did you feel like this dynamic changed the way to did you have a clear thought of how you were going to handle the deployment phase and this new dynamic when you went into the tournament?
Actually, every game I've played in 9th, I've been really conservative in the way I deploy. For me, I don't mind going second sometimes because it's okay when you have a really fast army. You can kind of deploy in the back line and push up, and that's what I was doing most of the time. I was happy if they wanted to deploy the whole army. That was okay because then I can choose where my dragon attacks or where my dragon princes attack, and that gives me an advantage because it's quite matchup dependent. Like you don't want to charge your dragon princes into the front of a strength 6 unit, and you don't really want to charge your dragon into somewhere where there's lots of like champions and things like that because they can just challenge you out. So I was kind of just being really relaxing, laid back. I would pretty much every game I just deployed my reavers in the middle first, and then let them decide. So some people were like, okay, I'm just going to deploy 1 or 2 units, and some people were like, okay, I'm going to deploy my whole army. And if I deploy 1 or 2 units, then I have a better idea of where I can put my forces because my silver helms, they don't hit as hard as the dragon princes. So I want the dragon princes against their good stuff. And the silver helm's killing the chaff, and then the dragon wants to be going for the big points. So the less I deployed, the better really. If someone wanted to counter my deployment, then they'd just deploy one by one, and force me to make a decision so they can counter me. That's how you defeat my style. But most people saw that okay, they wanted to go first because they were afraid of the dragon coming up and they want to take the wounds off the dragon with the shooting.
But I think it's wrong to do that actually.
Yeah,
because if you have a fast army and you go second, if you have a small fast army, you can hide behind stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of what.
So the shooting is not so good. Also, you can stay far away from him, so he can't really shoot you the first turn. And if he moves up, he's more likely to be within charge range, and you can just charge him on your
exactly.
first turn.
I was kind of sitting back.
Yeah.
And if he wants to go first, and he's got to move up to shoot me or magic me, then I was moving up and fast from there and attacking him.
Patrick, how about you? Did you have a strategy for your deployment phase, or was it just like more YOLO, just see what happens?
When you played me, you just put the tempo guard down straight away. That was when we played last week. You just put the tempo guard down. I was like, okay, white lines.
No, I usually just deployed like a few skinks first to just see where he went. Then I decided if I wanted to be right in front of him or as far away as possible.
A lot of the time I was deploying on the flanks, like a really big refuse flank.
Yeah.
Like all my units on one side, and just coming at him and trying to string his units out a little bit.
But my army is kind of slow, so I need to kind of be in the middle every time anyway. I think one time I just deployed my army and just went with it. I think it was actually the best game. I think maybe I don't know actually.
Because you have like a bubble really that you need to.
I have a bubble against the Chaos army. I just deployed my whole army and tried to go first, and it didn't work for me. and then I just said fuck it and deployed a few skinks first, and then deployed the rest. But it's mostly given. Sometimes the terrain really dictates where you're gonna go anyway.
Yeah.
So you can just say, oh, this impassable is blocking here and blocking here, and so you can only really go here.
So did you feel like the dynamic of being able to just throw down your entire army, did that change something in the way that you handle the deployment zone, the deployment phase now, or is it just kind of like the same?
It's an extra dimension of the game.
I really like it actually.
Yeah.
It gives you another tactical aspect because you pretty much, it depends how aggressive you want to be. You can just deploy your whole army and be like, I'm going first, and push it forward. And I think for like a shooting army, like a wood elf army or a high elf army that's really shooty, you really want that first turn, because then you can start shooting straight away.
Yeah, but again, we played a game where I went first, and you just hit your entire army, so I couldn't shoot you anyway.
This is the first game of Night Edition.
You made one mistake because you had a bolt thrower in range.
Yeah.
And then the rest was just behind impassable terrain and hills.
Yeah, Patrick, we played.
So I couldn't shoot you. So it's not always good to just deploy your whole army.
Yeah.
Because terrain will really dictate how you can play the game.
So there's definitely a new aspect of the game in the deployment phase.
Yeah, just to clarify on that, we played High Elves against High Elves, and we had pretty much the same army: Star Dragon, Lawmaster, White Lions.
Star Dragon, Lawmaster, White Lions.
Loads of shooting. And
2 units of cavalry chaff.
Yeah, and Patrick, he run the roll to go first, and he was like, "Okay, I'm just going to deploy my whole army, so I'm going first." And I let him do that, and then I realised that on my side of the board I had some hills and some impassable, and I hid my entire army, so he couldn't shoot anything the first turn. And I think in deploying I just left a bolt thrower out, and he just shot everything in the bolt thrower and killed it.
Yeah.
But he couldn't do anything else that turn.
No, I moved up, but
yeah.
It was not really good.
But you had a lot of shooting in your army.
I had a lot of shooting, but it was not good to go first when you had the opportunity to hide your entire army.
Yeah, so
you have to.
It's not necessarily the best idea.
No, so sometimes it's good to go first, sometimes not. But I think it's fun when you have an extra dimension of the game in the way you deploy. Yeah. And also you can just trick some opponents if you deploy one by one, and all of a sudden if you
just drop everything.
You drop everything because now you feel that he's committed to go somewhere.
Exactly.
And you still get a good chance of going first if that's what you want.
Yeah. I play Skaven, and for me it's very important to what stuff I will bind with my slaves, with rattling underlings, I think they're called now. So what I do is that I wait for a critical unit in my opponent's army, and I know when that critical unit is deployed, I'll just deploy the rest of my stuff, because then I can do my matchup against that critical unit. So I think that's a nice new dimension to the game.
I think that's what you did when we played.
Yeah, so I was like limping chaff units just all over.
We were both putting down units, and then I could tell at one point that I put a unit down, and then you were like, okay, now I'm going to deploy my whole army.
Exactly, and then I ended up like having a 4+2 to start the game or something.
4.
Yeah.
And then you took my Star Dragon off in one turn.
With the Doom wheel. It's changed since then, but
thank God.
So I think it's nice with this new dimension that you have to, when you're list building, you have to think of this new dimension as well. You have to, if you want to limp a couple of units, you have to have the chaff in an edition where it doesn't seem like people are picking that much chaff anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure you need it as much. Maybe I think you need some. I think I missed an eagle in my list actually.
Chaff is always good, but too much chaff can also be bad.
Yeah, I really want to see how the Wood Elves work out with the skirmishers and the war dancers and the
But
dryads.
the Wood Elves are more of a fighting army now, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We'll see.
But actually, we forgot to talk about, before we even deploy, you have to pick deployment zones. But you don't. You also have to pick scenarios, and sometimes you don't deploy in a battle line. You can be playing diagonal across the table.
I didn't play diagonal this weekend.
I played it a few times. It's quite fun.
We played diagonal as well.
And also you have the attacking and defending scenario where the deployment is
Yeah, I
skewed.
played that twice.
Flank chart.
I like that actually. Every time, if I get to choose, I always choose the flank one because I like just deploying on one side, get a big deployment zone, and just push it round.
Yeah.
Because people tend to deploy in the middle if they want to, and they push it up in the middle, and then if you're around one side, it gives you a big advantage, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the new deployment zones actually. The way the battlefield
It
is.
mixes up the game a little bit.
Yeah.
And also, if you incorporate the scenarios, it's another dimension also.
We did it once, and I forgot it.
I forgot about it too, but
Yeah.
I think you need to do it actually to get the full.
What scenarios are there? Because we played like a hold the ground or something like that.
Yeah, there's one where you have to hold the middle, and there's one where you have to pick up objectives.
Yeah, and one where you have to get units in the back line of your enemy into his deployment zone.
Okay.
Okay.
So and these objectives they grant you 10% victory points, right?
10% of game size and victory points.
Yeah.
So 240 playing 2400. Yeah.
So that's adding. It's clear to see that they have a competitive mindset about it because you gain extra victory points compared to Games Workshop where they never had this bonus win condition in their armies in their game. It was always like kill your opponent's army, that was it. But in 9th Days you gain victory points, so there's another win condition than just killing your opponent.
But also if you're just making a draw, killing each other, one could be holding a scenario point or something and winning the game from that.
Yeah, and it's not so swingy either. With only sometimes you play scenarios, it's like 500 victory points. Yeah, it's just a big thing. I
played a scenario once where it was the difference between 20-0 and 10-10 for holding one scenario point. It was dangerous terrain. He had a unit of trolls. I had a unit of cavalry. It was dangerous terrain on 1 and 2.
Okay.
I'm not gonna charge you.
Not with the unit of trolls stood in it waiting for you. Oh yeah. Well, how are trolls this edition? Do we know?
No, I haven't tried.
I think you need to take units of 3, but maybe they changed it again. So that you cannot have that one trolling troll.
Trollololol.
Trollololol.
Is there anything else we should talk about in 9th Age? I think magic is pretty.
Magic is different.
Is very different.
Yeah, I like the aided dispel thing, and I think that's interesting, dynamic, and the channel is good. Like the way that you're more wizards and you channel only 1 dice, rather than having like it's just that awkward phase where you get 3 6s and it's like, okay, it's gonna be like that.
Yeah, but you cannot force through spells like you could before.
No.
Irresistible force is gone.
Yeah.
You can still double 6 it,
Or
and you can miss.
Scroll it.
You can still scroll it. And if you use 5 dice to cast, 5 dice.
That happened to my Dragon Mage.
Then you jump into the hole right away if you roll
1 to 4.
1 to 4.
2 to 4.
And there's a new dynamic as well. If you miscast, obviously you don't irresistible force the spell, but automatic. So you don't cast it automatically. But if your opponent chooses to dispel the spell that you're casting, the irresistible force spell, you won't suffer the miscast. I like that dynamic as well.
And if they try to dispel it, then you get a D3 plus the number of power dice extra power to the spell. So it's actually really hard to dispel a miscast.
Yeah, but also it's if you miscast on fewer dice, it's not so crucial.
Yeah, the table kind of
follows the amount of
power dice. So the strength is the power dice plus 2. So if you throw 2 power dice, then the hits are in strength 4.
Yeah.
So you can survive it quite easily. And things like
so you won't have this situation where your slan jumps into the hole and just dies because you tried to 2 dice some
crappy spell
exactly.
turn 1, which I think is really actually kind of balances it a lot better.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing for me about the magic is actually the lore attribute. I think sometimes it's not about casting the spell, it's about getting the lore attribute off. It's actually more important in some respects. Because the lore attributes are really useful. Like the shadow one is a 10-inch fly move.
Really
so you
good.
can just like move your dragon around.
But it's focused, is it?
Yeah, but you can still.
You can still use it on a dragon, yeah, for sure, if it has a guy on top.
Yeah. Or I was using fire today, so I would just shoot at something and then give them extra D3 hits, or just it's like casting 2 spells. So you shoot a fireball at something and then another fireball at another one just for 1 spell. I think the attribute sometimes is better than the spell. Like the metal one, you had must have experience with that. Like the armor save, +1 armor save for the metal attribute is quite good in some.
Quite good sometimes.
Did you have any times this tournament that it was really good?
No.
No.
No, I mean the metal attribute is okay.
2+ armor save temple guard. Come on.
No, but they're not 2+. I don't know if they cannot be 2+ in close combat. They can only be 3+.
You need to go and weapon master them, don't you?
Yeah, I need weapon master on them for sure. The metal is okay, but most of the time I found that I couldn't really cast that many spells because
they're quite high casting value, the metal spells.
No, but I had the Stegonon was reducing the casting value, so I would cast them, but I would usually end up casting spells that were not so important, and then I had nothing really to help with the armor save because it was not in combat, or it was just like a chaff unit where it didn't matter anyway. And then when I really tried to cast something, everybody had a scroll in the army.
Yeah.
Just 5 dice this, a scroll. So now you have 6 dice left, and I have 4. Yeah. Okay, I'm not gonna cast anything then.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe you just got a bit outplayed in the magic phase.
Yeah, I think you need a scroll.
Yeah, I think it's really important.
The scroll is really good.
Yeah, it's really important now since you can dispel irresistible force with the
Yeah.
scroll.
I had it on my dragon mage. I didn't use it actually every game. I think I forgot sometimes.
But you can actually be worse off if you try to force through something.
Yeah.
And they have a scroll. You use a lot of dices on nothing, and then the rest of your phase is gone.
Yeah.
So the scroll is, I think 35 points is a good price, but it's really strong.
Yeah. I think something we're gonna see is like a new way of magic phase. Like before, it was about throw some small spells out, maybe get one off, try and force some dispel dice, and then throw a big spell.
Then power through.
That one spell that you need.
Yeah, you can't do it anymore.
You can't do it anymore. And I think what we're gonna see is a level 4 being the go-to thing on every list.
Level 4?
Level 4
No.
or a level 3. This is my big theory for Magic.
Okay.
A level 4 or a level 3, and it's going to be about the extra spell item on your level 4, and maybe a level 1 with a scroll, and then you're going to be trying to you can channel on a 5+ with a level 1, and you're going to be trying to just do these lots of small spells, I think, and using the lore attributes to do the damage or do that key thing that you need. I think that's where it's going to go to. Like a lore master might be maybe double lore master if you can have it. But I reckon I can see lots of small spells being better than pushing through that one big spell.
Yeah, for sure.
Also because the big mass removal spells, they're kind of gone somewhat, except for final transmutation.
Yeah.
But the big spells are kind of gone, and it's all about throwing out a bit smaller spells.
And I think it's going to be Law of Life, which is the big one, the money maker.
Law of Life, Law of Nature, Path of Nature.
Path of Nature. Yeah, okay. I reckon Path of Nature, and
or if you can have all the signature spells somehow, like the Normal Master or the Slan ability.
Yeah, I think the Slan on the level. Can you get a Slan level 3?
No.
Okay.
You can get a Skink on level 3.
Slan level 4 would be good.
He's always level 4.
Yeah. So definitely
with the Law Master Slan.
So definitely changes in the magic phase as well.
Yeah.
Some really big changes. I think it's nice.
What about the Skaven ability for the tokens? Do they still have it? Warpstone token. Each time you cast a spell, you get a token.
Yeah, they changed the lore attribute of Ruin, but you can buy the tokens now. So
Okay,
so it's another lore attribute now. But was nice though. So I think we covered the.
Well, we covered magic and deployment.
It was just initial thoughts of Ninth Age.
Yeah, I don't think there's much else really, like massive changes to the game. It's pretty much the same game that we know and love.
Yeah, just a few clarifications and few rule changes here and there.
Just some rule changes. Like one thing is like steadfast. if you have a flanking unit, then it can negate your ranks, and if you have 2 ranks, then it negates your steadfast.
No.
So something like that, and I think that's a nice little rule. So actually flanking someone with a unit of cavalry or a small unit of infantry is actually
You need 2
tactic.
ranks though.
Yeah.
So a small cavalry unit of 10 models.
Okay, but you can easily get 10 Reavers into the flank or something. They got 4+ arm save now. Ooh. I reckon that might be fun to try out.
Yeah.
I got 10 Reavers in my box.
But let's just take a break now.
Yeah, we'll take a break now. I think Jonas is going to get off, so
Yeah.
thank you, Jonas, for coming on. I'm
you.
sure you're going to be a regular on the
I hope to
podcast.
be. So.
So, thank you, and we'll take a break.